You got to get to a place where you got to figure out how to print money. I want you to break that down.
So first you have to understand there's different mindsets that people have revolving money. How can I not make my first 6 figures if the only people I connected with made 6 figures? I think what's scary is where we're going in the economy is you can't be just another. You can't do that. You have to be the go-to. So my goal is, hey, you figure out how to print money, figure out how to add value to the marketplace, solve a problem people care about, figure out your passion, and mix it with your strengths and solve a problem. There's a lot of money to be made. Learn how to print money.
What's your take on this whole idea? I think this message out there that's like, go start a business. Should everybody be an entrepreneur?
I think there's 3 things, Omar, that you need to have if you want to bulletproof yourself and be free and have choices. One is...
Peter, so honored to have you on. This is cool for a few reasons. Number one, your life is amazing. I think I've been able to follow your journey, but I've done a lot of behind the scenes work where I've filmed you on different podcasts and seen you in your element. And just to be able to have this conversation with you, I'm honored. I just want to say that.
Appreciate it. I'm honored to be here as well, man.
Yeah.
I've always loved your content and your attention to detail, and you're one of the best creators. So it's fun, man.
Shout out to you. And by the way, like random text on a Friday night, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to meet John Maxwell?" I'm like, "Yes." Yeah. So that was really cool.
I knew you loved him because obviously you're faith-based and he's an amazing leadership expert. And I knew you would like him. I just had a feeling.
No, yeah, that was unreal because it was like a small group with John Maxwell.
So I'm sitting there talking to John Maxwell about educating young kids about money. And you just walk in, and I saw your face because Maxwell was right there. It was just me and him in the green room. So you were like, "Oh," I'm like, "Hey, John, this is Omar." It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like because you're an author, you're a speaker, you're a poet, you're a serial entrepreneur, you're an investor, Web 3.0, like you're such a diverse human. And I know we can go so many different ways. I think I don't always give the guest the honor to be like, "Hey, man, what are you excited about?" And you were just talking about lifestyle, and like you've unlocked a level of wisdom that either guys like me will have to learn by experience and failure, or just listen from you. And you helped a lot of people make their first 6 and even 7 figures. I think first I want to go back on, like, right now on social media, everyone's kind of telling everyone they should be an entrepreneur. And I've tampered in various different roles. What's your take on this whole idea? I think this message out there that like, go start a business. Should everybody be an entrepreneur?
Here's my take. First of all, thank you. And I definitely pride myself in the lifestyle I've built because I feel like I've built it the right way. I've led by example. I've never sold my soul. I put family, God, freedom, and my values first. And a lot of people, you can't say do that. But I think everyone should at least experience entrepreneurship or sales or doing something where they're paid off their own ability to create results, because one, it forces them to bet on themselves and get away from having security from a job and from a boss, and they put security on themselves. So it's harder. But I feel like, so when I started in sales, Omar, if you don't sell, you don't eat.
Yeah.
You're forced to level up, or you're forced to realize your weaknesses or where you need to develop your discipline or get over certain fears. So it forces you to level up and get your skin in the game. That's why I like it. So I think everyone has their own gifts. And if you work on your gifts, if you focus on your gifts, they'll make room for you. And most gifts are not going to be work a 9 to 5, but there's a lot of gifts that you can enhance businesses and work as an employee. If you love it, and if you're paid well and you respect and appreciate who you're working for, that's just as successful as a crazy entrepreneur that's making millions. Because what I've seen in my day is people that make $50 million, they're absolutely miserable. They have thousands of employees. Their kids don't talk to them anymore because the kids feel like they value work over them. They have 1,000 employees. They have no freedom. Yes, they have the Maserati and they can fly anywhere. They have a private jet, but they have no life. And I know people that love what they do. They make $150 a year. They go to church every Sunday. They love their family. They travel. They have fun, and they respect their lifestyle because they love what they do. Who's the winner there?
Right.
Someone who has 50 million that hates their life, or someone that makes 150 that loves their life. So I don't know. I used to think everyone should be an entrepreneur and make millions. I've just seen way too many people do it wrong with no foundation. And yes, they have the millions, but nothing else.
That's really good.
Yeah, you got
that premise I actually learned from 4 Hour Work Week, where he painted a picture of like a 40 to 60K employee who is present in their family's life, and then like a lawyer who just you're paying back, so like you're not even really making, you're paying back on debt, and then you lose your life. And were you exposed to that just because you saw and you're like, that's not the example and I want to be the example? Like,
couple things, and excuse me, I've never really talked about this. In my 20s is when I went on a mission. I had a rougher childhood where I was kind of thrown to the wolves in a sense, and I didn't fully respect authority. People judged me all the time, so I felt like I judged people as I got older. I didn't like authority, so I felt like I had to be an entrepreneur because I couldn't work for somebody. I just could not fathom people telling me what to do, what I was worth, when to show up, when to leave. So it was tough for me. So in my 20s, I finally felt my stride, and I was working, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting paid based off my ability to get results. I'm paid off my ability to learn and grow and add value to the marketplace. And it was endless. So in my 20s, I was a whole different animal. I was working 6-7 days a week. I was really felt like I was finally in stride of what I wanted to accomplish. And I was making a lot of money. And 26, 27 years old, I continued to go down that route, made my first $1 million, and continued to do that. I met my wife, and slowly, as I saw where I could go, as I started connecting with higher level people, I had multiple mentors at the time that were always stressed out. They're like, hey, keep it around 2-3 million a year. You get more than that, it's this. Hey, make sure you don't get too this. And honestly, there was a period of time, Omar, where I could have went down that path of like making hundreds of millions of dollars, but losing myself, not focusing on my family, maybe not even building a family. I had people around me like, hey, I'm not going to have kids. I just want to go and crush it. You could travel the world, no responsibility, millions of dollars. And I always had in my heart and soul that I wanted a strong family and wanted to raise strong kids and have a generational impact. So for a year or two, my wife and my mom would literally gang up and show me movies and stories of people working too hard and losing families. And they weren't saying I was doing that, but they were like, hey, make sure you remember, keep your priorities straight. So I remember those days.
Wow.
So I could have got caught up, and I see very clearly ways to make hundreds of millions of dollars and getting so much momentum and being so focused on wealth and money. I could see easily how people make hundreds of millions of dollars, but I can see what it cost them. And I wasn't willing to pay the price of that.
That's really good.
So that's where it came from. So I could have went that route. And I have a very harmonistic lifestyle where I do make money for my family and I have freedom and I can do what I want on my terms. And I've made enough with investing and certain things I've done. I don't have to work, but I want to do what I want to do because I love impacting and I love leading by example and sharing my wisdom that I've learned with people like you and people out there. So
that's really
I've had to go through that though.
Yeah. And I love like you're now operating. I've heard like if you can take care of your bills with like your investment decisions and things are taken care of, the part of your brain that you operate from is a different part of your brain because it's not survival. It's not survival. And so you're in a creative, euphoric state
for sure
to be able to help people. That's really cool.
And I love that because I always feel like too, I know a lot of people that get into what they love doing, then they're like, I got to monetize this. And the second they really try to monetize their guitar skills or their singing or their hobbies, they don't respect it as much anymore. So my goal is, hey, you figure out how to print money, figure out how to add value to the marketplace, solve a problem people care about, figure out your passion and mix it with your strengths and solve a problem. There's a lot of money to be made. Learn how to print money. And then when you learn how to print money and make the money work for you, then just do what you love, do what you feel like you're called to do. And you don't have to do it for money. And here's what's crazy. The money comes.
Hey, Department fam, wanted to take a brief break from this conversation. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is that, did you know that 75% of the people that watch this podcast on YouTube actually aren't subscribed, which is a high chance that you're not subscribed. So number one, I want to say thank you for listening or watching the podcast. And number two, if you can hit that subscribe button, that would be amazing. The second thing is, if you are an entrepreneur, content creator, or somebody looking to make money online, I want to encourage you to come to this online event called the Content to Cash Challenge. This is a special 5-day event that's going to give you access to the system I use in my business to make multiple 6 figures with my content. If you've been desiring to either get your business and brand more exposure, grow a YouTube channel, whatever it is when it comes to video, I would encourage you to jump into the Content to Cash Challenge. We'll be sure to post the link to the challenge down in the show notes or the description. And I want to encourage you to jump into the VIP experience. This will give you access to a 1-hour Q&A call every day of the challenge. This will guarantee myself to answer a personalized question you may have. So I'll see you on the Content to Cash Challenge. Now let's jump back into the conversation.
So you stop trying to focus on money and money comes. What did Maxwell say yesterday? He told me in the agreement, he goes, I've never tried to make money. I just fill a need and I add value first and the money comes.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with me. When I put out content and I do things I want to do, I made motivational mixtapes. I've done 6 or 7 of them, never for the money. I actually realized I don't even know how artists make money off streams, because I get millions of streams and not a ton of money's coming in.
Yeah.
But I do it because I want to impact and I have a message to get out there. But because of that, people will call me, hey, I heard your mixtape. I want you to go speak to our group. We have a budget of $25,000. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't do the mixtape for money, but someone heard the mixtape and paid me 25 grand.
Wow.
That's wild. Now, if I was like, I got to do this mixtape, I got to make money. Hopefully someone listens to it and pays me. It's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
And I think when you come from a scarcity mentality or survival mode, you think money first, and it's really hard to think money first.
That's really good. And honestly, what you're talking about is meekness. Like you say, you can see what you can do to make 100 mil. But then what it takes, it's like, it's power under control, being able to say no, you know?
Yeah. And I just see, I see all too well people that have that money and the status they have. And a lot of times I can see that they're missing something. They don't have the significance. They're not on purpose. They're missing something. I sat with Mike Tyson. My guy, Dept was there 2.5 days. Sat with him for 2.5 days for hours and hours, interviewing him, talking to him. And I see a painting behind the wall where we were. And I say, Mike, tell me what's common with all those people behind you. It was Tiger Woods. It was Muhammad Ali, Tom Brady, like some of the best athletes and entertainers in the entire world. I go, what's the common theme of most of the pinnacle of success that you've seen and talked to? He said, shame. I said, what do you mean shame? They're so ashamed of who they are, they hide it with success. Most people they're not content with who they are because of their childhood, so they hide it with all this accolades and success, and they can't stop. So they're playing this part, they're playing this superstar when really they're just trying to hide who they are. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And he said that the crazier your childhood was, the more trauma, the more successful you become. And I always knew, Omar, that it's crazy to see how can someone be so successful on top of the world? It's because they're hiding something. A person with a normal childhood that just values their family, there's no way you could be that successful. There's too much sacrifice, too much off. It's so lopsided. So that was a pretty crazy thing. We could even crop that clip in. I could even give it to you and you could put it. But it was wild to me. He said they just have a lot of shame. And I don't have shame anymore. I've always had insecurities growing up. Everyone does. But when I really, it was putting God first and realizing he forgives and you can have a fresh start. And if you learn to forgive and have no resentment in your heart, you're free. And you have no judgment. And it's almost like you drop the fear of people and you drop the need to be liked. Okay. And that is, there's no greater feeling than walking out of church and feeling light and feeling like you're forgiven in a sense.
Yeah.
So I don't need what I used to chase that so much. Like, I gotta have millions of followers. I gotta have this. I gotta have the Ferrari. And I've been in them. I've seen a lot of success, and it doesn't do it. Now, I'm not saying don't get money. With what's happening right now in society, with AI, with blockchain, with the government doing what the government's doing, with all these things happening, you need to have money. I think there's 3 things, Omar, that you need to have if you want to bulletproof yourself and be free and have choices. One is you have to be developed properly. You have to be rooted. You have to understand emotional intelligence. You have to understand how to make decisions based off logic and intelligence, not just emotion. Learn how to have self-control. 2 is you have to have God first. You have to have some type of spiritual source that is not worldly, that gives you an advantage. And 3, you have to have money. If you have those 3 things, you're set. The
Really
government
good.
can't take nothing from you.
Right.
You're positioned so well that nothing can be taken from you. And I think a lot of people are 1 or 2 paychecks away from being controlled and having things taken from them. That's why I do believe no one talks about money. Money is important.
Right.
It's an excellent servant, but a terrible master. You can't serve 2 masters, but you have to respect and appreciate money because we live in a society that money gives you freedom.
Right.
And the more you give, the more you get.
Yes.
So that's why
Dude,
I don't
so
feel
good.
shame talking about money no more.
No.
It's like, you got to have money.
Dude, in all honesty, like I've seen with like my audience, a lot of people that have come to, there's a lot of Christians that follow me for obvious reasons.
Amazing.
And I see the money mindset. It's crazy. Like, I mean, and unfortunately a lot of, it's because there isn't a space created, you know, in the church. And so like you have to go to secular events to learn about biblical principles around money. And I think about Deuteronomy. It says God's given us the ability or the power to create wealth so that we can establish his covenant.
Mm-hmm.
And that tells me 2 things. Number 1, God created wealth. It's a God idea. So if it's a God idea, it's a good idea. And then second, that if we're going to establish his covenant, it's going to take money.
Mm-hmm.
So but people are afraid. And I want to kind of go into, like you said, you got to get to a place where you got to figure out how to print money. I love that, by the way. I mean, I if that scares you and you're listening or watching, like I want you to break that down. And what does that look like? And what does it feel like to feel like, and in some level, I feel like I kind of got there, but because I know you want your money to have money babies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like in business, what does it feel like to print money in business?
Well, first, what's the alternative to printing money? Having no money. I've never met someone, and it's a sad reality, but I've never met someone that doesn't respect money that has any. Most people that have no money, they're like, I don't need money. I don't like money. Rich people are greedy. First of all, greedy people are greedy.
Yeah.
I know broke people that are greedy and rich people that are greedy.
Yeah.
Money is not emotional. It's not good or bad. It's just, they're printed out of thin air.
Right.
It's just a reflection of value. So first you have to understand there's different mindsets that people have revolving money. So a lot of times people don't realize there's 3 different mentalities, like poor, middle class, wealthy. And poor people believe the purpose of money is just to pay their bills. So they go to work. The reason they're working is to pay bills.
Right.
So on Friday, they're like, my bills are paid. That's the focus. Middle class, their entire purpose of money is to build up their credit, to buy enough with credit to pay off later to live a comfortable life. And they're usually saving a lot, right? Saving and investing in things that they can buy later on through credit. That's middle class. Wealthy people have one mentality. The whole purpose of money is to make money work for you. The whole purpose of money is to make more money. Money loves speed. So if you're listening, make your money work for you by understanding how to invest it properly into yourself. There's 4 things successful people invest in, and then I'll go into printing money. 1 is back in themselves.
Yep.
Invest money back into your mindset, back into your intellect, back into books, audios, business practices, coaching, mentorship. That changed my entire life. People used to, when I invested $12.50 a month with my first millionaire, I was 24. And people were like, you are an idiot. Money's so hard to come by, and you're investing over $1,000 into some millionaire. He's scamming you. Yeah, I made my first million 2 years later because of him.
Wow.
So of course I'm going to invest in. It's a bet on yourself,
right.
Investing in yourself. So once you invest in yourself, you sharpen your intellect, you make better decisions, you break free of any limiting beliefs and false patterns that you've had from your childhood. Because most things from our childhood, God bless our parents, most parents only taught what they knew.
Right.
You can't be mad at them. You can't resent your parents for only teaching what they knew. They knew what they knew. But it's definitely not what's going to get you to thrive now, right?
Yep.
Especially because they taught us what their grandparents taught them. So that's the first thing. Second thing is you got to invest back into your business. So once you invest in yourself and you learn what business to start, you invest back in the business. Once your business starts making money, you invest back in assets that make money work for you. Whether it's real estate, Airbnb, multifamily, whether it's art, paintings, you invest in things that make the money work. And then 4th is memorable experiences with people you care about. If you invest in yourself, you invest back in business, you invest in assets, and then you invest in amazing experiences. That's the wheel of life right there.
Really good.
So printing money is just understanding how you can solve a problem people care about, and then making sure you realize it's audience expansion before profit maximization. You have to enhance your value to people and you have to give value before you can get anything. That's what people don't realize. So the new generation, if you just focus on education-based marketing, educating people and just giving your services for free or showing people what you can do and then asking for the sale, that's how you start.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are missing. So I'm sitting with one of my camera guys, Dept, who I've been with since 17. What is that? 7, 8 years. I was at an event with Gerard Adams speaking at his event. Where was it, Dept? New Jersey? New York? New York or New Jersey? And he goes, let me take some pictures for you. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. Then he goes, let's do a photo shoot in New York City. And I'm like, oh, I'm living in San Diego. I'm like, I can't pass down a photo shoot in New York City. That's amazing. I'm like, all right. He's like, let's meet tomorrow. I was like, all right, cool. Took a bunch of pictures. I love them. He's like, all right, hope you enjoy them. Didn't charge me. Didn't even ask for anything.
Mm-hmm.
I said, these are so good. I hired him a couple months later and we've been working ever since.
That's fine.
He didn't, if he would have asked me for money instantly, I would have been like, I'm good. Even though the product was good, don't ask for stuff too quick.
Yeah.
And another thing is, once you add value first, then you have to enhance your skill set to be so good at what you do, you're not just another. I think what's scary is where we're going in the economy is you can't be just another. You can't be just another content creator, just another author, just another singer, just another mortgage broker, just another real estate agent. You can't do that. Yeah. You have to be the go-to. You have to figure out what makes you unique. What's your angle? What's going to make you different than everybody else? How are you going to add more value than everybody else? If you understand that and you enhance your skills that way, that's how you start learning how to print money, because you can print money on demand by just putting out more value and content.
Yep.
Or being able to partner with people that already have your ideal audience. You can leverage that audience to bring more people to you.
Yep.
But the key is getting around other people, Omar, that have already done what you want to do and that make the money you want to make. So my first book, 6 Months to Six Figures, my number one question always was, how do I get to my first 6 figures? How'd you do it? I said, well, I was dead broke. I had no choices. I was discouraged. I couldn't even afford, the rent was $600 in my small apartment in Tacoma, Washington. I couldn't afford it. I was stressed out every month. I started connecting with people that made $500,000 for months at a time. How can I not make my first 6 figures if the only people I connected with made 6 figures? It's inevitable. I could not be a smart guy. And if I just did what they did, talked how they talked, woke up when they woke up, read what they read, thought how they thought, of course I'm going to make 6 figures.
Yeah.
But broke people love hanging out with other broke people. Just makes them feel better. And a lot of times when you reach up to a new level of success, people are grabbing you. No. That makes me insecure. I don't want you to get come back down here a little bit. And they try to pull you to their level. You got to be careful and not be around too many people that try to remind you of who you used to be, in a sense.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you're aware of who you're around. That's a huge key.
So good, dude. I want to like kind of unpack those 4 things. You said like investing in yourself, which is crazy. It's taken me, I know my last known W-2 job was in 2016. I used to work at a church and then went out to just start business. And then it's led me to awesome things, but just like the discovery of entrepreneurship. I wouldn't say it. I would say in the last 3 years is when it like business clicked. And even that the concept of investing in myself, but even more so, doing it, even though it made me afraid, I was afraid to do it. Cause it's like, you're buying something invisible that you're buying belief maybe, or whatever. But like, can you speak to that person? Because like most of the time you're not going to have the money to invest in yourself. That's like a,
well, let's unpack why you had a little bit of fear.
Yeah. I mean, I think number one, I never did. So like, because as crazy as it sounds, I never really bought a course. Did I invest in myself like YouTube University? For sure. Did I ask questions and people in my church, like grab on the wisdom of older people?
But I mean, putting money to work for you.
Yeah, I just didn't. And so the first offer I was presented was a $55K offer. But I believed in where the person was that I was, I was like, I respect where they are in their life. Mm-hmm. If I'm their age and I could be there, then that's why I'm doing that. And then even learning that like, that is a good like first step. But I invested in myself. I didn't invest in that individual. I invested in myself by doing that.
And what happened when you did it?
Bro, 2 months, like not even a month later, I doubled and I'm learning like the money thing, duh. That's just like inevitable. So I'm speaking from like now experience, but you don't know that it's going to happen like so quickly. But again, I'm the variable. Mm-hmm. So if I can just apply myself, but yeah, it happened quickly. So now like, it's almost like, yeah, that thing broke off. So like now I'm like, if it's going to make me better or it's going to make it faster, like, let's do it,
sure.
you know?
And when you bet on yourself, that's the best thing you could do for your self-worth.
Yeah.
It goes up. It's just like you make the tough or easy decision. If you make the easy decision, if you hit the alarm button, if you eat the unhealthy food versus the healthy food, if you watch a whole series of Netflix when you're struggling, when you should be writing down your goals, every small decision you make that's easy, life gets harder and you lose self-worth. I'm going to work out tomorrow. I'll work out later. And you don't work out, you lose self-worth subconsciously. It's just like when you tell someone you're going to do something, you don't follow through.
Dang.
Subconsciously, people lose respect for you and you lose respect for yourself. And a lot of people are so used to not following through, it's second nature to them. And they don't realize, why does no one respect me? Or why doesn't anyone answer my calls? Because you never follow through on your word, because you don't have a covenant with yourself first.
Really good.
And some people are always like, well, sometimes I do. Think about a covenant. I have a wife and kids. And they're like, well, sometimes I cheat on myself here. It's like, imagine sometimes I cheat on my wife. It's like,
doesn't work.
No, see, you have to kind of have that covenant of treating your body like a temple, but also treating your business like that too. And people don't.
Yeah.
So that was a key. But when you invest in yourself, it opens up so many doors. But what I was saying is you have to make sure you respect who you're investing in and they have the experience and the lifestyle you want. A lot of these newer coaches and stuff that are brand new, they've never had results. They're just like, I'm going to coach people. It's like, dude, you're 20.
Yeah.
You have $5,000 saved. How are you going to coach people?
Right.
So you want to make sure that they have the lifestyle you want.
Good.
You know what I mean?
No, I think I didn't know that was the case, because there was a person before, Myron, and I was like, dude, I don't respect their life. Like, maybe their information, but like, whatever.
Yeah. And if you're faith-based and they are, or they're not, you're like, why would I follow them?
Yeah. That's really good. Okay. This is selfish. I feel like, yeah, the figuring out like what's my way of investing in assets. Like, I feel like oftentimes, am I supposed to be the expert in the asset thing the asset class I decide to go in? Like, how do you decide on the assets? I love the idea of stocks because I just love the idea. I've done real estate, as far as like I flipped a house once and I'm in my second home, but I don't know. Like,
start with what is most important to you. What's most important to you?
The first thing that comes to mind is like trying to get to like a
but
yearly
you don't know,
amount.
I can tell.
Huh?
You don't know.
I know.
That's your first step.
Okay.
Because there's a million ways to invest. If you figure out what's most important to you, is it safety? Is it compounding interest monthly? Is it long-term equity? Is it your family's first? So all you want to do is have a legacy. So when I invest, I think of these things. Okay. Is this a legacy play? Is this a passive long-term, I don't touch it and it's easy play? For me, it's the people, the proven track record of who I'm investing with. How proven are they? How reputable are they? And then the contracts have to be on point. And once the contract's on point and the people are vetted and they're really, really the real deal, they have a track record of proven success, then I think, is this an investment that's just fast money? Is it long-term? Is it a legacy play for so I have some properties in Tulum. They're being built. We have land, and that's a legacy play for my kids and my family. Some Airbnbs are for our family lifestyle to go travel when we want to stay there. Some are just straight money plays. Mm-hmm. So you have to figure that out first. Yeah. But I could tell when I asked you, you don't know. Yeah, that's why you're always going to be shaky on what investment you're going to do, because you don't have a strong foundation of why you're investing.
That's good.
But it's the people.
Yeah.
And the reason stock markets are iffy because they can be controlled by puppets behind the scene, which I don't like. That's why they scare me. And that's why I think crypto is under such scrutiny from the government, is because they can't control it.
Yeah.
So that's why I like Web3, because it's decentralized and there's a lot of things I like that I feel like the banking system should have done, but they don't do. And now with all these things happening with banks and people not being able to withdraw their money, and it's an interesting world. So what I say is diversify. Make sure you have cash. Make sure you have some crypto, maybe some Bitcoin. Make sure you have some stocks and bonds. Make sure you have some money in a credit union. And if you want to have some in a big bank like Wells Fargo and them, just more power to you, but just be ready, because I don't trust a lot of big banks.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like they have our best interests in mind. And here's why. When you put your money in a bank, they multiply your money 26 times. They make so much money off your money. They make tons of money off your money. Then they say, hey, right now, because of the economy, we'll give you 1 or 2% of your money.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't like putting my faith in things that I'm their last priority and they expect me to be their first. I don't like that.
Dang.
So I want to
Really
make
good.
sure people have my best interests in mind. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
they don't, why would I put my best interest in them? So I'm very weary because now I have a family. I have 4 kids. So I need to make sure I put my family first. I don't ever get in my feelings. I have first principle thinking, logic, like how can I make sure we're protected? That's when I force myself to get clear. Because I was like that.
Yeah.
Before investing, I was like, dude, people are hitting me up with multifamily and Airbnbs and rentals and buying these. And oh my gosh, people say watches are a good investment. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Then I just trusted people. And when you trust the right people that you know have your best interest and they're not like doing it because I guess they make money or something, then that's the best way to go. Because you don't need to be an expert in investing. Just find an expert in investing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah, because I don't know a lot about certain things. There's certain properties, Omar, I have that I've never seen. I've never seen them. But someone told me about them that I really trust, that's big in real estate. And then I found a property management company I really trust. So I have the person that told me about it I trust, the management company I trust. Now I have a property just printing money every month and I don't have to worry about it.
Good.
We have a lot of properties. So my wife handles it. We'll teach our kids how to handle it. But every week, every couple of weeks, it's like, hey, this person's internet went out. You have to, so the more it is, more money, more problems. We won't bring up P. Diddy on this podcast for good reason. But you know what I mean? Like more properties, there's more issues. But it's a different set of problems when you have more money, which I'd rather have that because there's more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 50 properties or 1,000 doors, you're going to have more problems than if you have 3 properties. But you also have 105,000 monthly coming in versus 4,000 coming in. So
Good.
you got to pick and choose.
Good fire. So
Does that
good.
make sense?
Yeah.
These are great questions. It's just bringing up a lot that I've thought about.
Yeah. No, I mean, because I see you as like, yeah, you have a mentorship spirit for, I believe, people like my age. How old are you, by the way?
Yeah, 30s.
I'm 33. I don't know.
I'm a little older than you.
Okay, cool. Yeah. But
Couple of years.
I feel like you've accelerated quickly.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, I think your mind is, I appreciate your mind. And I think,
and I thank you for that. But I tell you, don't shortcut the journey either, because the journey is it.
Yeah.
The journey is it. Like I always think about what I've gone through and I wouldn't really change anything. I wouldn't change the horrible times, the broke times, the discouraged, the hopeless times. I wouldn't change those because it helped me find myself.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that God will never give us something we can't handle. And if I have that type of faith, a lot of people, if you want to totally shift your perspective listening, like something quick, just focus on faith, not fear. If you watch like the news, all they want is you to be in fear, because when someone's in fear, they're easier to manipulate and control. So why would people want you in faith when faith people are hard to control? The scariest thing for a lot of people that maybe don't have our best interests is a strong faith-filled family. They're like, "Phew, that's scary." A faith, strong family, those can't be controlled. Yeah. That's why we have to keep strong families filled with faith. Yeah. Because fear is everywhere. There's fear everywhere. And you have to stay strong for the people around you, especially if you're a man. Provide, protect, and stay strong. Even if you don't feel certainty, you have to make people around you feel certain. That's my job as a husband, to make sure my family and my wife and my kids feel safe.
Yep.
I take even if I don't, I got to figure out a way to protect and provide. You know what I mean?
No, that's fire.
Yeah.
Dude, love it. So I feel like there's this book by Daniel Priestley. It's called Key Person of Influence. Essentially just becoming the best known person about a thing. And I feel like you really like tackled like entrepreneurship, and you did that in the form of, you had a podcast. You still have it or still have it?
Yeah. We haven't done episodes for a while. We're kind of revamping it.
Okay. So yeah,
time. But we've been doing podcasts since 15.
Yeah. So like that, like writing books, speaking on stages, like you are a key person of influence. What would you say, like, out of all those various like moves you've made to get your creative or your mind out there, what has been like very like that changed the game for me?
Well, what changed the game for me is, first, I've had many tipping points and breakthroughs. Great question. My first one was when I wrote my book. I didn't know how to write. I didn't do well in school with writing. And if someone said you were going to be an author, I would have laughed in their face. But I had a strong calling and a message that I knew needed to get out there. So not knowing what to do, not being an author, I wrote the book because I knew people were struggling, and I had a message of how to reach 6 figures. Very proven, because I did it and I helped a lot of people do it. I had a clear message. So I found a way in 8 months to write the book. And when I was nervous, I was scared because what are people going to think? They might make fun of me. I was an imposter kind of because I never had wrote a book, and I didn't feel like I was a worthy author. But the breakthrough was when I released it. What changed my life was I realized I remember I was like picking a release date, and I was like, dude, this is going to be, putting yourself out there and being vulnerable is not easy, but it is if you're off yourself. So I switched. I'm like, this book, I had this moment where it's like, this book isn't about me. It's about the people that it's going to impact.
Really good.
So I started thinking about people reading it like, Peter, you changed my life. And I've had thousands, it has 6,000 or 7,000 reviews now. I've had thousands of people reach out and say, you changed my life. I was thinking about suicide, all these things. And that's why I wrote it. So for people thinking about a tipping point, for me, it was like, I got off myself and I got on purpose. When you get off me, I, and you get on helping people, you don't care what people think because you're helping them. It's not about you.
Yeah.
That was a huge tipping point. And that changed my life because now I don't care as much about being on film, camera, being myself, being authentic, saying what I truly believe, even though it goes against the grain for half the people, because I want to lay in bed at night and feel super pure.
Yep.
And I want to be 80 or 90 and know I have no regrets.
Yep.
And if you try to please everybody, the more you try to please everybody, the more regret happens when you're older because you're not being yourself.
Really
And something's wrong with the motive of somebody that wants to please everybody.
So what was that? Just because I think a lot of people that listen to the podcast or watch it, there's a book inside of them. Like, what would you say is that first step? You know, like I know there's a book in me. I have even felt that.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't even know like what's the next step.
Yeah, getting it out, writing it down.
Okay.
Doesn't need to be perfect.
Did you write it like straight up, or did you like record it voice thing? Like,
no, it was 2013 or 12 or 13. So I wrote it, and it took me. And I will tell you, you can talk to my wife. It wasn't my best time because I was antsy. I was stressed. Getting out how you want to get things out articulately is very hard. And I'm an ADD like hyper. So sitting there and writing. Now I have 2 other books out, and it was more like talking it and telling people and helping people. They can edit with me. So it was easier, but it was very tough. There's easier ways to do it now. I would say the key is starting. Yeah. Starting the chapters and think about what tipping points and breakthroughs you had. If you're just 1 or 2 steps ahead of somebody, or you've gone through a breakthrough or gotten over a trauma, you can help somebody. Yeah. So it's just writing it out. There's so many tools now that you can use, but just starting, making a decision first and putting a date. Hey, I'm going to have the rough draft or the chapter list done in 6 months, and just forcing yourself to do that and realizing it's not about you. It's about the people you're impacting. And you see a lot of entertainers, a lot of athletes, a lot of even celebrities. You see them make millions and millions of dollars. They're movie stars, and you see them just crushing life, but they're depressed. And they say, I was doing it for other people. And then you see them go through this fall of, it's almost like clockwork. You see them go through depression, drinking, problems, rehab. Then they almost always come out and they want to help people. Almost always. So I just see that kind of stuff. And I know that's the purpose of life. I think the ultimate currency is not money. It's the effect we have on other people. Good. And that's what a book does. Really good. And I remember I was going to tell you something when you talked about the Bible and people on your podcast understanding that money is important. It is in the first chapter, Genesis, where Jesus talks about, I believe it was Abraham, he gave him livestock, gold, silver, and he had abundance of that. Yep. So I wanted to share this because that totally shifted my mindset to God doesn't want us to just get by. Yep. Do you believe the same thing? 100%. He wants us to be prosperous. Yeah. He wants us to have too much. So that's what I got from that first chapter of the Bible. It's
God wants us to have too much.
He wants us to have too much. He wants it to overflow so we can give. Right. Because the ultimate key to life is giving. So I got that. It gives me chills because I remember reading that. I'm like, oh my gosh. He could have said Abraham has just enough livestock, just enough gold and silver to help his family. He gave them an abundance of livestock. He had tons of livestock. He could have gave him.
I think, that's why, like, it's funny. I literally got hit up by a guy that like bought a ticket to a challenge, and he DM'd me. He's like, dude, man, you're a prosperity guy. Like, nobody's ever like categorized me as that, but he was like, you're a prosperity guy. I can't refund my money. And I was like, what? You know, it was a $200 ticket. And I know it's not about the price, and I never even talk about how much I give. It's not even like it's not at the forefront. But in my mind, I'm like, what do you think the reverse? Like, it's crazy. Like the paragraph he sent, I'm like, you're actually fighting about having less.
Yeah.
Like that is not a God plan. Like, and I do think like the word prosperity has been hijacked. So people think it means jets, you know, excessive living and all that stuff. And I know I love how Pastor Jabin, he defines as prosperity is simply enough to take care of your needs and then enough left over to be able to take care of the needs of others.
Yeah, and give.
That's it.
Which that could be a lot. That could be some.
Yeah.
We don't know.
We don't know.
But why not? Someone asked me, I live in a nice house and I've had nice cars, but I have a F-150 I love now, and I've had Teslas and Range Rovers and all these things. But someone's like, why do you need a huge house? Me and my wife bought a house up in Idaho and it was too big for us. And I looked for a year. It was 3 acres, 3.5 acres. Amazing. We have goats and chickens and all these things. It's awesome. We love being on the country. And we had 2 extra rooms. And at the first 5 or 6 months, we were like, man, this house is big. Like, it takes a lot to clean it. It takes a lot to keep up. Something happened with her family. And we ended up becoming the legal guardians of two of her kids. So younger brother and sister, now they live with us.
Wow.
So that's why we had a big house, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like things always work out. But the house is a reflection of how I feel about myself. I want abundance. So people, why do you have a big house? Because it's a reflection of how I feel. I feel abundant and I want to give. That's why I have a house like that for my family. So it's a reflection of my confidence and my self-worth.
Really good.
So people don't realize that.
Yeah. I mean, dude, another, like me and Amanda have been kind of looking, we don't know yet, you know, if for our next property, but I remember like one of my big brothers, Steve, he's like a spiritual big brother. Cause I was like, dang, this is a little bit of a bigger yard. It's like, it's the entertainer's house. And he's like, dude, I was told this and I never forgot it, but you know who you are and you know the family you're leading. You don't want Ruby to go to other people's house. Yeah. You don't want Russell to go to other people's. Yep. You want them to come to your house because you can't control. So like be the family that people come to their house for the fun. Yep. Not, you don't send your kid away because you can't control. And then, you know, who knows what's happening.
Did you grow up with money?
No. Yeah.
It's interesting. Neither did I. So it's weird how we're like, we don't need too big.
Right.
So it's a strange dynamic thinking. I've gone through that too. I've had to totally transform my beliefs and my thinking because I used to have all these different thoughts about money. But when I had those thoughts, I had none.
Right.
It's weird. And then when I finally had the better mindset, I had some. And then if you have a rooted foundation and you're strong-willed, put God first, and you realize it's about family and people, then you feel good about whatever you do because you're doing it in the right spirit, the right heart.
Yeah.
So if you do this house, you don't have to explain it to people like why you have a nice house. You know it's for your family. Yeah. People will see that, which I like too. Well, it's big as I get older, the importance of, and some people that are younger might not understand this, but the importance of sleeping well at night and like looking in the mirror and being proud. That's not something to go underrated.
Yeah. A
lot of people can't do that. A lot of celebrities can't do that. And they could be amazing on TV, have millions of fans, millions of dollars, millions of contracts, so many amazing things on TV, amazing cars, but they might not sleep well at night. And that's what counts.
100.
So
that compounds.
Yeah.
That's why I love marriage, man. Like marriage is the context where somebody on this planet knows everything. There's nothing I'm hiding. To lay my head at night knowing, even though sometimes like if I have to confess something or there's a momentary like wrestle, but like, my goodness, that's freedom
for sure.
And it's the revelation that God gives us godly relationships and even marriage to be able to not live bound and hold things.
And you're not living for yourself.
Right.
I think that you don't truly become a man or someone mature until you care about someone more than yourself.
Yeah.
So kids totally changed my life.
Yep.
Because it made me count on them and put them first.
Yep.
And when you put someone before you, it's not about you anymore.
Yeah.
So you don't have the luxury of instant pleasure and addictions and doing all these things. Like a lot of people say, oh, I'd die for my kids, but would you actually live for them? Would you change your bad habits for them?
Yeah.
Would you put them first? Would you get healthy for them? Would you go to the gym for them? Would you stop addictions for them? And most wouldn't.
Yeah.
which is
Really
why
good.
there's a generation of kids that don't have sharp and present parents. And it's sad. But that's why mentorship's needed at the highest level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So good.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, I preached last week on Acts chapter 2, where it says they devoted themselves to fellowship. And that word fellowship means to contribute. Like they devoted themselves to contributing. And this is after they all got saved, after the 3,000 was added to the church. And, you know, I felt like the Holy Spirit revealed, like, this is why people are burnt out, because they're trying to consume. What can I get out of life? What can I get out of this relationship? What can I get out of this business? What can I get out of this marriage? And even I had a call with a friend who, after 11 or 12 years, they're like, you know, getting divorced. And I asked them, like, if you feel comfortable, like, why? And it honestly was because they don't fellowship. They've lost the contribution to each other. And I don't know, man, we just kind of have like different dreams. It's like, oh, it's about your dream.
They say that the divorce rate's 50, 60%.
Yeah,
but the divorce rate for people who pray or go to church together is like 2%.
Yeah, it goes crazy down.
It's wild.
Yeah.
But do people really want to make it work that bad where they'll do something like that and put faith first? And the answer, as you see, is probably not.
Yeah.
And you know who really suffers when someone gets divorced? It's not them, kids.
Mm-hmm.
So automatically, you know the kids weren't first.
Yep.
If the kids were first, you'd figure it out. You'd get over yourself. You get over your egos. You talk about it. You communicate. You figure it out. But of course, they say the number one. I've seen a lot of stats that the number one cause is not money. It's not infidelity. It's lack of communication.
Crazy.
Lack of expectations being explained and understood at the beginning, and lack of communication consistently over the years, and not putting the kids first.
So good.
So yeah, man, I could talk about this all day, but I appreciate your.
Yeah. What shifted? Because like I feel like I met you in 2017.
It had to be early.
And then
when were we in the condo at the Aria?
Yeah, I mean,
with Sean, when was that?
I feel
or
like
did we connect before that?
I feel like it could have been. I
didn't have kids, so it had to be before 19.
Yeah, no, it was definitely before 19. I think it was 2017 or 2018. I feel like there like over the last few years there has been an emphasis. Like, yeah, your relationship with God has been more. You've been more vocal about it, and maybe He's just been doing a bigger work in you. Like, what has shifted? Because I've witnessed a shift between.
It was he healed me in a sense where I had it all, everything I wanted in a sense in terms of family, money, the houses, the freedom to do what I want when I wanted. I had the kids, but something was still, and I've always believed. So it's not like I never believed, but I didn't have a close relationship. So I something was missing. I was still anxious. I still had anxiety. I could make $300,000 in a month, $400K in a month, and still feel like it wasn't enough.
Mm.
And it's like, that's more than enough, of course. And it's not about the money. So, but like I said, I learned how to make money, but making money is never going to fulfill you. And it's hard to tell that to people that don't have money. They're like, yes, it will. Trust me. I've made $1 million in a month before. Yeah. It's the same as making $100K in a month. It's the same amount of money. What's the difference?
I feel like whatever amount we think right now is a lot of money, as soon as you make it, it's no longer a lot of money. For sure.
Yeah. And you realize it's not about the money.
Right.
But you need to make money to realize that sometimes.
Right.
So I got closer to God, started going to church, and instantly, like I remember getting saved again, and instantly I felt lighter. Started forgiving, having less resentment. And I used to think I lost that dog in me, like that, like aggressive, like, dude, I got to be a beast. I still have it, but now I feel way better because I used to do a lot of things off aggression and anger, and it's not healthy.
Yeah.
Like I broke a lot of records in my previous company when I was younger. I crushed every record. I was like a different animal then, but I wasn't. It was based off like proving people wrong and anger, which that's not healthy long term. So it shifted. I became lighter, and ever since then, putting Him first and having biblical principles for my family, everything is better. Money's better, family's better, relationship with Him better, relationship with my wife's better, relationship with my kids is better.
Crazy.
I have less anxiety. I have no resentment. I don't have any jealousy. I don't have any. It's wild, dude. I don't even know how to explain it.
Was this like post 2020?
No, a couple years ago.
Oh yeah.
Probably being more vocal was just. I feel like I'm called to. I feel like It was probably 2-3 years ago.
Okay.
And then feeling more vocal, maybe the last 1.5 2 years, was I just feel called because I see so many people struggling.
Yeah.
And so many people, maybe they have the money or they have the fame or they have the cars, but they're missing something. And usually it is some spiritual, it's putting God first and having a source from him.
Yeah.
And I just see too many people. And what really sparked me is understanding that I was called to help people because they're taking God out of schools. They're taking the Pledge of Allegiance out. So there's an
Crazy.
evil force working, and I feel called to help people understand what the truth is.
Yeah.
When you want to hide the truth is more important than ever.
Yeah.
So I feel called to do that. So now it's just kind of natural.
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
That's so good.
I was changed from the inside out because of that. And I can't describe it. You have to just experience it.
Right.
And walking, and I saw everyone I respected, Omar, was walking with God, and they just moved different. People that have God on their side, that put God first, have a different type of confidence, a different type of swagger, a different type of demeanor. They're just different. You can tell. Like, they don't fear people. And I used to love that. I didn't have it. Now I have that, and it's the best feeling in the world. So I would challenge people. If you're discouraged, depressed, you're not where you want to be, you're stressed, you can't sleep at night, try putting God first, see what happens.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose.
Right.
Nothing to lose. Try it. You know what I mean? Most people I know that don't put God first, that in my experience are suffering and struggling. So if I saw half the people that didn't believe in God, they were like thriving, I'd be like, well, maybe it's not. But almost everyone I see that doesn't put him first is not satisfied.
Yeah.
And that could say something.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. The pendulum I see is, it's got to get really bad
for sure
to get to that place.
Backs against the wall,
rock bottom. Yeah. Perfect. And he's waiting for that person too. And then the other side is like, and I would love your insight on it. Like somebody who does have it all, successful, money, family, materialistic, but even is like, you look at them and they're like, they're fulfilled right now. They haven't hit rock bottom. And it's almost like, it's like, how do I get Jesus to this person? Like, I don't know, like, is there people that they're not there, they haven't hit rock bottom?
I think, yeah. And I think that he's always giving you signs.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't take the signs. For me, I think the best thing, people always ask, how do I inspire my mom, my brother, my sister, my friend, my fiance, my son? You don't. You live your best life.
There you go.
You practice what you preach. You walk the walk. If you walk the walk, you don't need to talk the talk. If you preach and you show people that you're walking with God and he's first, he's your source, and you're living an amazing life free of resentment, any resentment or hate you have in your heart, you're blocking all your blessings. A lot of times, in my opinion, I don't even feel like prayers work if you have hate and resentment. So you're like, my prayers aren't working because you still have hate and resentment in your blood, in your heart. Get rid of that. So I would say leading by example.
Yeah.
I would say you doing what you're doing, having this show, and even like John Maxwell said yesterday, you don't need to lead first or try to convince people. No. Just change how you talk about it, how you view what you're sharing with people, the presentation, and live right, and the right people will catch on.
Yep. So good.
And if not, shame on them until they figure it out. And if not, don't judge them. You know what I mean?
Good. Dude, it's really cool to see, honestly. I believe God's doing something in the marketplace and he's raising up, kingdom entrepreneurs that have a kingdom mindset, that understand the kingdom has a king, and that when you're in a kingdom, there's a way to go about things, and teaching other entrepreneurs the way. I don't know. I just feel like the shift kind of like,
I see it too.
Yeah.
And it's needed.
Yeah.
There's some underlying evil forces and it's needed. People like us are needed at the highest level.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you, man.
Dude,
this was great.
No, it's awesome.
I'm excited to get this out there.
What are you working on right now?
Honestly, to be honest, it's just family first. We have 4 kids. I'm trying to raise them right and continue to build a strong foundation. I'm continuing to share content so they can check out nothing to sell. They could check out my Instagram. If they're newer and they maybe want like a roadmap, they could check out some of my books and stuff like that. Okay. But yeah,
we'll link
I hope I gave some value to people. I hope some of my testimony inspired people to maybe live different or invest in themselves and live a better life, because that's what it's about, is living well.
Yeah. Dude, appreciate you.
Thanks, brother.
Let's go.